Hey, it's Jason Creel. You're watching Lawn Care Life. Well, leaves are starting to fall, so I wanted to talk to you about my fall lawn care application, show you what I'm spraying on the Bermuda and Zoysia lawns in particular this fall, and let's talk about it. Stay tuned. Okay, fall is one of the greatest times of the year for us here in the South. You know, the weather's hot, and when it gets fall, it's just that first fall evening when you walk outside and you feel the coolness in the air is a great time of year. But it's also a very important time and for the success of your lawn. And today we're talking specifically about Bermuda and Zoysia lawns and what we're going to be putting on the lawn and when we're going to be applying it during the fall. So let me go through these products. I've got 4 products mixed in my tank at the current moment. Let's talk about each product and what it is, how much we're using, and why we're using it. Okay, here's our lineup today. And in no particular order, we're going to start here with 2,4-D. Now, a couple things you want to think about in the fall in your Bermuda and Zoysia lawn. Beginning to transition into dormancy. Okay, so what I'm doing, if I'm out there spraying the lawn and I see some nut sedge, you know, I may or may not even mess with the nut sedge because of the time of year it is. Same thing with crabgrass and other things. I mean, when you're into September on in October, those things are going to be slowing down in how fast they're growing. And so sometimes on an annual plant like crabgrass, I'm not so much worried about killing it as I am just letting it die out with the cold weather and trying to prevent it next year. So we've got, right here we got 2,4-D. Now the 2,4-D can help if you've got some leftover warm season weeds like spurge or something like that hanging around in the lawn. But you might also during the fall start to have some of those cool season weeds start to pop up, or maybe even their biennial weeds like a dandelion or something like that that's been hanging around and struggling, and when the weather cools off starts to show a little life. So the 2,4-D can help with that. Then, you know, this says Princep on it. You can see here active ingredient is simazine. Think about your cool season weeds we're dealing with a lot, and one of the most frustrating ones is Poa annua. Okay, we just sometimes call it Poa or annual bluegrass. And what we're trying to do is prevent it with our pre-emergent, but sometimes you're late on your application, or maybe the pre-emergent didn't prevent all of it. So in that case, you're putting simazine in the mixture, hoping that if any of it breaks through the pre-emergent or you're late, hopefully the simazine will be able to get that Poa, you know, before, so that you don't have to deal with it the following spring. Okay, moving to the right here, this is Spectacle Flow. This is the pre-emergent I'm using. Now, Spectacle, we've talked about in other videos, it's quite expensive. These jugs are like 1,600 bucks a piece for a gallon. So, you know, quite pricey. Now, the rate we're using this at, let me just go back and talk about the rates real quick. On these, they're using 2 pints per acre of each of those on the application of the simazine and 2,4-D. On the Spectacle, it's 6.5 ounces per 6.5 ounces per acre on Spectacle. So, you know, it goes a long way. And some people do that as a split application. You know, maybe in September they use 3 ounces or 3¼ ounces, and they come back in November and do another 3 or 3¼ You know, I'm just doing it all in one shot. So 6.5 ounces, one application in the fall. Then I've got my surfactant here. This is a Harold's Spray Max surfactant, and I'm putting 2 pints for every 100 gallons of water in the tank. So let's go over it again. Okay, you got 2,4-D and simazine. Those are both the 2 pints per acre. Spectacle 6.5 ounces per acre, and then you got the Harold's surfactant 2 pints per 100 gallons of water. So we're trying to kill broadleaf weeds that may be hanging around, late warm season weeds or early cool season weeds. The Princep, simazine, we're trying to get rid of that Poa if we somehow miss it with the Spectacle. Spectacle is very good on Poa. That's one reason I'm using it. If you don't want to spend a fortune on Spectacle, you can use prodiamine. You know, it's not going to be as good on Poa, though it does, you know, still effective, just not as good as Spectacle. One of the things about Spectacle is if you're late, let's say you got your application down, but some of the Poa has already germinated. You know, the thought is that the Spectacle has some reach back ability that will actually be able to, you know, control help control, along with the simazine, some of that baby POA where the prodiamine is not. Now, prodiamine, obviously, when you price comparison, there really is no comparison. It's significantly cheaper, and the surfactant, you know, helps these stick to the plant to be more effective. I'm not necessarily worried about hitting the nutsedge and stuff like that. I mean, if it's really bad, it may be a chance for you to spray it and see if, you know, perhaps you can kill some of it and keep it from coming back the following year. But, you know, I'm mostly focused on preventing these cool season weeds that are going to come the following year. But what you can do is, in the fall is a great time to go after some of your hard to control weeds, such as Dallas grass in particular. So whether you're using tribute total or something like that, or if you want to wait for a Bermuda lawn, wait till it goes dormant and go after it with glyphosate in the winter time, you can do that as well. So that's some of the things I'm going to be doing, is trying to get rid of the Dallas grass in the fall. I'm doing blanket applications with this combination of products for my customers. And then, like I said, if there's some Dallas grass hanging around, I'm going to try to get rid of it over the fall and winter, because that is some of your best opportunities to control some of those hard to control weeds. As is the case with many weeds, if you can prevent them with a pre-emergent, it's so much easier and oftentimes cheaper than trying to get rid of them with a post-emergent later. That's definitely the case when it comes to Poa annua, one of the primary weeds, as I mentioned, that we're trying to prevent with this application. If you end up with Poa in your lawn come next January, February, March, then you end up having to use something like Revolver or a product like that. Sometimes people use Celsius, there's other products, Katana, to be able to get rid of Poa in a lawn. But if I can prevent it on the front end by using Spectacle, even though there's an added cost, I understand this may not be reasonable for a homeowner just with the cost of that product, and I would recommend, you know, using prodiamine instead. But for us in the business, if I can prevent the Poa, not get that call back next spring, not have to go back out there and try to get rid of the Poa with Revolver, to me it's worth the added cost of using Spectacle. You know, as far as timing application, it's the opposite. As some of you already know, it's kind of the opposite of in the spring, because in the spring, when the soil temperatures reach a certain warm temperature, then that's when the warm season weeds like crabgrass, stuff like that, start to germinate. Well, in the fall, it's the opposite. When your ground reaches falls to a certain temperature on the cool side, and I don't know that off the top of my head, but that is when a lot of those cool season weeds are going to germinate. So, you know, what I try to do, what you can do is look ahead at the forecast. I've been looking at our 2-week forecast for a while now, not necessarily for weed purposes. I just want to know when the weather's not going to be so hot. But when I check out the 2-week forecast, if you see that night where it's going to be going down in the low 50s, upper 40s, I mean, ideally, if you want to have your pre-emergent out before then. Now, if you put it out too early when the weather's hot, you run the risk of some of it breaking down over time and not holding up through the cool season months. So for me, you know, I'm starting early September. It'll take me all the way through October. By the end of the round, you know, I'm probably going to be late on some customers, but that's why I'm saying with Spectacle and simazine, hopefully it'll be able to knock out that baby Poa before it ever shows up in anybody's lawn. If not, then I'll be dealing with it, you know, next February or so with Revolver or a product like that. Let me hear from you guys. Has this been informative? Are you using a different combination of products, or are you trying some of the same products, and what has been your results? Those of you that are using Spectacle, or some of you using prodiamine, other things in the fall. But hopefully this gives you some information as far as what you can use, as far as some information for some of you homeowners, and maybe some of you starting off in the weed control, to help you understand what you can apply on your Bermuda and Zoysia lawns. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. If you're looking to get into the weed control and fertilization business, and you need a lot more information, you might consider coming to the 2018 Lawn Care Life Conference. We're going to be teaching people how to put together a program to know what to spray and when to spray it. And we've got both a warm season expert coming and a cool season grass expert coming. So whatever type grass you're dealing with, we should have somebody there who can help you put together a plan to get you started in this business if that's something you're looking to do. Talk to you guys later.